Alpha 315 brings with it some of the biggest and most life-altering changes to hit the persistent universe since 3.0, as the core gameplay pillar introduces two new aspects essential to realizing the vision Chris Roberts once referred to as death of a spaceman. Now, for this reason, this episode focuses entirely on the addition of injury and healing, which will change the way that players live and die in the persistent universe from Alpha 315 and beyond.
There's supposed to be consequence to death. Do I want to just bleed out and die? There's supposed to be a fear of death itself. It's not just a case of how I'm going to be healing myself, it's a case of who's going to come and save me if I go down.
315 is going to bring the next major step in realizing the vision that Chris Roberts had, and that is you are this lone explorer that is venturing forth into the unknown. The new mechanics and systems that we're introducing in 315 around healing and death of a spaceman introduces the risk part of that exploration. Pretty much 99% of the times where you would have died in Star Citizen before, now you go into a down state. And a down state is a unconscious, incapacitated state that allows other players to come and rescue you. But when you do come back, you may come back with a very severe injury. So the injuries that you can come back with, you can range all the way from a traumatic head injury, a chest, severe chest injury or chest wound. You've got broken arms, and probably the most severe is broken legs.
Each injury per body part comes with different symptoms, and as you accrue more severe injuries, your symptoms increase, the severity of the symptoms increase. With the head, it's mostly visual effects, so as you take injuries, your eyes sort of get vaguely detached from your retinas and whatnot, and what you can see starts to become impeded.
And we actually call this blood vision, and it's actually not what you'd expect in terms of blood speckling on. It's actually the delamination or the separation of your cornea on your eye.
Also, force reactions, that comes into play. So the more severe your head injury, the more you react to those. So to start off with, it's the same as usual, standard functionality. But when you have the most severe injury, a strong breeze is going to knock you over. And then also we have the chest, so moving on to that, you have reduced stamina, so you can't run as fast, or for as long rather.
The main progression of the chest is that you start to suffer in terms of your overall general health, and also at the top end as well, you're in kind of like a weakened state. You trigger a hurt locomotion, so you can't really, you're not as flexible and mobile as you previously were. And where the arms starts to go is that you start to have increased weapon sway. You can't carry as heavy objects. And on the most severe arm injuries, you actually have broken arms.
That prevents you from climbing ladders. It prevents you from carrying heavy objects. So you might bend over, pick up a 200 box and immediately drop it.
And when we have broken arms, essentially we allow the player to do what we call one-shot actions. So for example, pull the trigger on their gun.
So you can fire your weapon, but after that you're going to be forced to drop into a low carry. And then moving on to legs. Obviously if you've got a broken leg, that doesn't really help you with traversal. And when you get to that severe state, we put you into prone lock, so you have to crawl everywhere.
It's going to be a severe state, and it's not going to be something that you're going to want to happen at the bottom of a cave. So if you do receive an injury out and about, what can you do? How can you help yourself? Obviously, you can have medical pens. So medical pens are what you're using right now. They heal your health, and they still remain to heal your health. They won't heal it as much as previously, where it was just a one-shot, heal all, reset back to full health, you're pristine. They just bring back your health back to where it can be, depending on what injury you've received. The other thing that you can do, depending on the injury, is you can take one of 5 drugs that we're introducing into the patch. And they treat different symptoms. So some might treat muscle fatigue, some might treat pain relief, some might treat other things like headaches and so on and so forth.
Their function is to mask symptoms, and those symptoms are masked for a specific duration. And the duration is based on the dosage that you apply and also the method of applying them. So we have the med pens, we've got the med gun, the multi-tool healing attachment, and then we've also got the med beds. The efficacy of all of those increase. We go up in efficacy from pen to sort of gadget to med bed. When you give yourself any sort of drug, so that's healing or masking symptoms, you're increasing your blood drug level. It's also alcohol, so that ups your drug level as well. And as your blood drug level increases, you'll start to reach thresholds where you start to see visual effects, so blurry vision, muffled audio, that kind of thing. And then as you progress through that further, you'll start to enter drunk locomotion mode. And that's, as you might imagine, staggering around, looking rather drunk. If you reach 100% on your BDL bar, that results in you entering an overdose state. Now, this is similar to an incapacitated state in that you can't move, you're in ragdoll, you're seeing the screen fade in and out. But the main difference is that your blood drug level does decay. So as long as you don't suffer damage enough to send you into an incapacitated state and then eventually death, you will come out of the overdose state automatically.
So this is what leads to the next stage of relief. How do I cure the symptoms or injuries that I've received? You can only cure those injuries based on going to a medical facility or a medical bed. And depending on the severity of that injury will dictate which facility you need to go to.
Now, it's not a one bed fixes all. Not all beds were made equal. We have the Cutlass, which is a tier 3 facility, and that can remove minor injuries, so that the least worst of the injuries. You've then got the Carrick and 890, they're tier 2. They can relieve minor and moderate injuries. We'll also have rest stops. They'll have clinics within them, and they'll also be able to, they're a tier 2 facility, so they'll be able to heal moderate and minor injuries. And then the creme de la creme, which is tier 1, you'll find those in hospitals, and those can remove any injuries. So we've talked downstate, we've talked injuries, and we've talked treatment. But what happens when the worst occurs and you die? So previously, or currently, you respawn in a hab. That's out the window now. Now you respawn in a medbed. There's numerous locations that have medbeds, so that's hospitals, that's clinics, Carrick, 890. Those are the ships you can respawn in, at least the Cutlass you can't. Your default respawn location is actually set as your home location.
So when you log in now on 315, you'll be asked to choose your home residence. This home residence will become your home regeneration point. And this is what the main area that you have will be dictated to that hospital. If a landing zone has a hospital associated with it, then that hospital will become your main regeneration point. If you choose a landing zone that doesn't have a hospital associated with it right now for 315, but will do in the future, it will associate the nearest hospital to that landing zone. And you will be given that information before you log in, and you have to confirm that. If you die and your regeneration point is not available, so for example, you set your regeneration point inside your Carrick and you're flying your Carrick and your Carrick blows up, you will then regenerate at your home resident. So that is the original hospital location that you spawned at. When you are incapacitated, before you fully die and regenerate, you will have a significant period of time to wait it out for people to be able to come and rescue you. Now, clearly, if you've taken a severe amount of damage, that time is going to be less. And if you've taken a moderate amount of damage, that time is going to be greater. But we're talking, in the half an hour, 2-hour range where, there should be plenty of time for somebody to come and rescue you. Clearly, if somebody's there still damaging you while you're in the down state, they can essentially coup de grace you, they can execute you, and you will be forced to regenerate. But we are giving the player enough opportunity to try and wait it out. If players don't want to wait it out, and that is their choice, then they can choose to regenerate immediately. And the one thing that we do want to call out is if you do regenerate, then you will leave behind all of your items and gear that's on you right now, but we can talk about that next week. So we still have a significant amount of actor status related gameplay that is going to come later, but this is just to let people know that, you know, we're going to put this out, understand, measure, get feedback, and then shape it into something that is what everybody wants, that what we want it to be, that is this true vision of Star Citizen. So this is just the next step, but it is a big one.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the daily cycle of death and respawn is changing to healing and injury. The new treatment options mean new gameplay opportunities for field medics and the like. And that when you do die, the impact will be felt greater than before because of inventory changes we'll be discussing next week. Now, don't forget, Ship Showdown is happening right now, where you can vote in the top 16 and determine who the winner will be, and the Digital CitizenCon video contest is almost over, so don't miss your last chance to get your submissions in. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all next week.